Okay, and now the English version. So first of all, it's great that there are not so, I'm not sure if this is visible in the recording, but there are not so many English-speaking persons, but there is always some, which I found very interesting. Thank you for joining the sessions, and I'm very sorry about the encrypted version always at the beginning of the session, because this will be always held in Finnish first, and I know that it's like encrypted by default because Finnish is so different language than anything else out there. This week,
I think it's the other way around. I should be sorry. I'm very thankful that you are doing that in English for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. First, there is a fabric conference in Finland. I think this is in English because all the material is in English. If this suits your calendar, please join, because Microsoft posted this morning that there are still 3 spots on the session. It will be within a week. I will be there presenting in this slot regarding warehouse capabilities in the SQL, in the Fabric, and kind of how to upgrade from your existing SQL investments, but there are like everything else around Fabric also. So go to that URL. I will paste it in the chat also after the session if it suits you. But regarding our this week's demo and capability is about Fabric warehouses. So the SQL part of the Fabric. This unfortunately doesn't work with the the Lakehouse version of the Fabric. So in Lakehouse, same capability potentially will be there in future, but it's now first like up in a warehouse, those SQL endpoint or SQL warehouse part of the Fabric. And what are we talking about is the backup and restore capability. So this is not a very new functionality. This is something that has been available for, I think, 3 or 4 months already. But reason or another, it's not been announced very loudly. So I see that only few people know about the functionality. But I was in a customer meeting last week where kind of it was a showstopper. Customer said that we cannot go to the Fabric warehouse because there is no backup or restore functionality, and it's like too complex for us to create one for ourselves. If something happens, we by mistake delete something and we would like to restore the database, that functionality has to be there. And then I realized that, hey, it's a functionality that is actually there, but it's just under the radar that no one knows about it. And here I have a warehouse in a workspace, and this warehouse only has like 1 table or something, so it's not a big of a warehouse, but it doesn't matter. If you, in your case, you would have a big warehouse, these operations work pretty much in the equal speed because everything is metadata driven, not physically taking backups, not physically restoring things from separate storage. So it should be like few seconds every time, no matter how big of your warehouse is. But here I have 1 table which has like 2 rows, so very small warehouse. And what you need is the GUID of the workspace and also a GUID of the warehouse. They are always visible on the URL when you kind of browse the warehouse in the Fabric portal. In addition to that, you need some client which you can use to execute REST commands. And here I'm using a Postman tool to do exactly that. It uses the Microsoft Office 365 / Azure AD, Entra ID, whatever today called, authentication mechanism. So you have to log into the microsoftonline.com API, and then you will get the token. And then when you have the token, you can invoke the commands going forward. So kind of standard. If you've done any REST API calls to Azure or Office 365, this is the same thing. You just need the token for your queries. And in addition, of course, you need user rights in the workspace. So you have to be basically a workspace administrator to be able to run these commands. But there in the REST API, there is a command which, first of all, let's take the body, lists all the backups created from the warehouse. I would like to say that the kind of user interface or kind of the architecture of the REST API is not as elegant as it could be, because, for example, list command, in my opinion, should be a get, because in REST API world, if we read something, it's a get. If we post, it's adding or updating or something. But kind of here, Microsoft has decided that most of them are post commands, even though they are not doing any changes. So kind of this is just how it works. So post command against the REST API with the command called warehouse list restore points. And when you execute that, it will return all the restore points that are available for this warehouse. And basically, it's every 8 hours it will take a restore backup. That's what Microsoft is promising you. Technically, I think it's a bit often than 8 hours, but basically that's the SLA, that 8 hours is the one. And you can create a backup. So if you invoke a command for warehouse create restore point, you will create a backup, hopefully. See how it works. It worked in the Finnish version just a few minutes ago, but let's see how this now works. I'm not aware of any limitations in the frequency of the requests, but it of course could be that it's now, because it's now doing something weird. It's not returning me anything. It's just running. Yeah, now it returned something. It's cloud. Something happened. It created me a restore point, and here it says that create time, basically an UTC 0 timestamp of the backup, which is then the one you would be using when creating a restore. So if we now run the list command again and scroll all the way down, we should see this one. I'm in Finland, 2 hours ahead, so 13:11. That's the one. This is the one we just created. And if we now go to our warehouse and we drop this simple table like this, and we try to select from it, we can see that it's not there. It's gone. So if we manage to restore the database to the point restore point we just created, it should have that table again. So if I now copy this timestamp over here, Control C, go to restore backup command, And this one is warehouse restore in place command. And I will paste this over here, fix the prompt like this, and send it. Now, when I click send, I will try to do better than I just did with the finished version of the recording. So I will copy the batch ID, go to the list batches, and try to fetch the command while it's still in flight. So I will post, copy this one, list batches, this one will have here at the end, paste, send. Oh, and it's already succeeded. So basically, if you would be doing some kind of script, PowerShell script or something, you probably see the in-flight version. But I tried to be as fast as possible, and still, when I invoked the list the status of batch command, it says here progress state success. So it's very fast to restore the warehouse. It's in place restore always. So it's you cannot restore it to another name. It kind of replaces the old one. That's, I would say, not complete feature set, but as of today, that's how it works. So if we now go back to our warehouse and run the command, we are back into the original state where we have data in the table. So kind of, if in your project or in your customer or in your Fabric, you need a functionality, or your business requirement is that we need to be able to restore the warehouse to a certain point in time, you can count on Microsoft's 8-hour SLA, or if you think that it's not fully fitting our ETL timeline, so basically kind of that's not a good point in time, you can always create your own backups. You'll pay for the storage that the backup is taken, basically kind of a differential storage, but it's Azure storage cost. So is it like €2 per terabyte or something like that? Anyway, kind of it doesn't play a big role in many cases. It's much higher price if you need to recreate the data or kind of do something manually. So I would not consider that as an expensive situation. Unfortunately, this functionality is not available from the user interface yet. There's a blog post from Microsoft which describes these functionalities, and it says that kind of in an upcoming releases sometime later this year, these will be available from the warehouse properties or something. So kind of we're just not yet there. But as said, if you are today running Fabric Warehouse and you need backup restore functionality, it is there. So kind of that's not a reason to postpone your kind of journey within Fabric. Good.